Welcome to the Ignore Limits podcast, where it's all about taking your mind and body to the next level. If you want to gain muscle, shred fat, and become successful in life, this is the podcast for you. And here's your host, SJ. He's an Amazon bestseller author, blogger, and fitness fanatic that's here to help you transform your body and mind with easy-to-follow, proven methods.
Hey guys, welcome to the Ignore Limits podcast. Today we've got a special guest on the show, that being David from howtobeast.com. Thanks for joining us today, David.
Yes, thank you for having me, SJ.
I just wanted to bring David on the show just because I find that his message is very congruent with mine. So in terms of fitness and just overall self-improvement and success for men. So that's why I got him on here. Did you just want to tell us a bit more about what you do and sort of where you've come from, David?
Sure, SJ. So, I guess the relevant part of my story starts about when I quit my software job, which I know is something you're also doing yourself, SJ. I graduated from school and I was working for a software company doing database management, more or less, and I realized that I wanted to do something different. And I decided on personal training just because of my love for fitness. And once I quit that job and took that initial step, it sort of spiraled quickly into experiments and self-improvement across all areas of my life. And I know, SJ, that I think you found me from my book, The Book of Alpha, which was sort of the first time I expanded from fitness writing, which I'd got into along the same time that I'd started personal training. And at that point shared the other types of areas that I had been experimenting with, trying to improve on and whatnot.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, I did find you initially from the Book of Alpha, and from there just reading sort of your story as well. So, starting off with fitness and then moving into other sides of things as well. I really think, as I'm sure you know, that fitness just really does help to develop that mindset for sort of all other aspects for men.
No, I definitely agree. Yeah, I think the main thing that it instills in your mind is the discipline that when you set concrete fitness goals, whether it's gaining muscle or losing weight, cutting fat, that in order to achieve them, and just in order to grow stronger in general, it takes a pretty strong discipline in the gym, just showing up and completing your routine however many days a week you're doing that, and also the discipline that when you get there to actually push yourself every time, regardless of how tired or how shitty you feel on that particular day.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of the few things where you really do, you only get back what you're putting in, so there's no way to really cheat your progress or anything like that.
Right, and the people who do cheat their progress are the people that you see who are just as fat or as skinny or as weak as they were last year. It's like the stereotypical guy you see on the bench press every Monday who's been bench pressing the same amount of weight for the last 3 years of his life. If you want it to be sustainable and actually transform as we have, you definitely need to develop that mindset, and and that obviously transfers into all other aspects of life. Sort of, it is a very slow progression, but seeing results as you go and facing adversity, that type of thing. It's definitely ties into all other types of all other aspects of life as well, like business and like you would know with your job and things like that too. Yeah, and I think that's the key, is that fitness goals for the most part take a long time to achieve, and the being able to achieve them and stick to them over years of time or months of time at the least does just ingrain that lack of, or the false notion of instant gratification. Helps dispel that myth from your mind.
Yeah, that's very true. When you do set a goal, for example, because we're going with it, let's go with fitness. How how sort of far out do you set that goal? Do you set something a few weeks, a few months, or do you look very long term in terms of that rather?
So in fitness and outside of fitness, I've sort of, at least at this point in my life, I find it most resourceful to set goals in terms of months. I find that personally, if I set goals in terms of full years, that I can lose motivation. And just because you don't see progress towards that goal for a very long period of time.
Yeah.
You know, whether that might be if you're like just getting into weightlifting and you're like, I want to look like I don't know who, like Z's or something like that. Like
Yep.
that's not gonna happen for years of time if you stick to it, and that's probably not gonna happen anyway. But that's not gonna happen for years of time. But this, by the same token, goals that can be accomplished in days or weeks, uh, generally, I don't know. I guess they don't even. They're more like tasks. It's
Yeah,
not even like a goal at that point. It's like something just to check off the checklist, like applying for a job or going on vacation or something.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I can definitely see where you're coming from there. When I do it, I sort of aim to have two sets of goals. So I have something in the shorter term, which I would say is generally 3 to 6 months. So for example, if I want to, increase, a recent one's been increasing my deadlift. So, in a few weeks, you're not going to make any, you might make a little bit of progress, but at a more advanced level, these things definitely do take a lot more time. And, if you're aiming a year, 2 years in the future, that's way too long to sort of be able to hold yourself accountable today. You just put off working on that because you've got, you know, 200 more days to sort of tackle it.
Yeah, I
So,
agree, and I
yeah,
think that the deadlift's a good example. And another reason I think, again, the deadlift's a great example is 2 years is such a long time that we don't know who we're going to be 2 years from now. Chances are 2 years from now, your deadlift's not going to be as important to you as it is today, you know?
yeah, exactly. So it's all about putting it in perspective like that. But at the same time, I definitely do aim to have, I'd say, yeah, 12-month type goals as well. But the thing with those is, throughout the year they can sort of change in that as well based on, what you're doing, where you're going, or if your overall goals themselves change. So even still, I think it is good to have sort of a short-term and sort of a longer-time picture of, where those short-term goals are taking you as well.
Definitely, I agree. And I think that you can even look at a long-term multiple year goal and just say, what does the first 3 months of this look like, and make that your goal. So you're focused on that as opposed to the 3 year mark.
Yeah, so essentially it comes down to, like backtracking. So you find, I want this physique or I want to achieve this, and then you step back and have a look at the smaller steps and, the first few steps that you need to take in order to get there eventually, instead of just rushing out and saying, hey, I want to get that in, 3 months or 3 years or whatever. It's just all about breaking it down from my experience.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. I think that 3 to 6 month window is a perfect time frame for the reasons we just covered.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so yeah, speaking, you mentioned it early, so the Book of Alpha, which is the first book I actually discovered from you. The whole alpha thing is, has been for a while, is really sort of like a keyword on the internet, with lots of different meanings to it, and to do with pickup and this and that. What does the whole alpha mindset mean to you, and why do you think that's important?
Sure. So, yeah, I mean, as you said, it really has become like a keyword or like a catchphrase that's used to describe like a billion different things. And I think a lot of times when people think about it, the traditional thing or like the first thing that comes to mind is maybe and again, it's hard for me to even describe the first thing that comes to mind because there are so many different things that have been put out there. You can search alpha and see a picture of a big like steroided bodybuilder, and then you can click
Yeah.
the next image and it could be like a CEO of a company, or you can click the next image and it could be a pickup artist with like 3 girls on each of his legs or something. And I think the main thing for me, I believe with alpha, is that really what it is just being completely comfortable with your values, and not just being comfortable with them, but actually taking strides to live up to them. So being congruent, I guess, would be another way of putting it, because we all value very different things. People listening to this probably value lifting weights, so it would make sense for them to lift weights then. There's people who, to go through the same examples I just used, who value or who really want to build their own business. So the quote unquote alpha thing to do would actually be to take strides to building their own business, rather than maybe, working their 9 to 5 job and just like reading blogs about starting their own business.
Yeah, so essentially it's, deciding what you want to do, or, whatever it is that you want to do, and not what other people, society, etc., tells you to do, but sort of setting out to, pursue, what you want, doing what you want, essentially.
Exactly. I think that's exactly what alpha is deciding on what you want for yourself, which, inevitably will come down to a fusion of things that other people want, but that particular unique fusion that is yours, pretty much just owning it and actually living up to it is what alpha is in my mind.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. Is that something you think people either have or they don't, or that's something that can be sort of cultivated and developed, starting through the gym and that type of thing? Or, because a lot of people, from what I've seen, on forums and stuff, they're talking about the whole alpha thing, like we said, and they're saying, am I alpha? Can I be alpha? What's the deal there?
Yeah, yeah, I find that really funny because like, you picture like some poor guy behind his computer like crying like, oh, like why was I like like why have I been like chosen to be a beta, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And for that reason, it's why it's not like a dichotomy you want to get too caught up in. It's more, you can use it to represent these ideas, but it's sort of like, and I don't know what your take on the whole like endo, ecto, mesomorph things are, but it all like the same way you can change your body type, you can obviously change your mindset and your approach towards life. And as you said, for a lot of people like myself, and from what I understand for you as well, the gym has been an entryway into sort of adopting an alpha mindset, to where you're choosing goals that are important to you and you're pursuing them on your own. And it's definitely something that, to speak to your question about whether it can be developed, it's definitely something that you gain momentum with each additional step, or with each additional goal or value that you try to incorporate into your life. You can really start generating rapid momentum and really transforming yourself very quickly, and to someone very different than you might have been, a few years ago.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that. Just like fitness and all those other types of things. I started off, like you mentioned, different body types as an ectomorph. Actually, I'm not sure if you're the same, but from there, just transforming. Like people can't sort of tell what you were before. You've become a whole different person, essentially. In the physical aspect, in that regard, but in terms of the actual mindset and stuff that develops along with it. I think, yeah, unless you do lift weights, I think most of the people listening to this will be, but that people don't really understand that unless they do it. Like they just think someone's, picking up something heavy off the floor and putting it back down a bunch of times. But like you said, at the end of the day, it does really help to cultivate that mindset of setting out to do what you want to do, being disciplined, and sort of essentially just being on your own path as well. You don't get influenced too easily, in my opinion, from other people then. So you're on your own path, and people join you along the way because they see you as a bit more of a leader. You're doing what you want to do, and you help other people along the way as well. I think that's people often think people that are alpha and whatnot are douchebags essentially, but it's that's completely the opposite in my opinion.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Actually the first chapter in my book, The Book of Alpha, is trying to make this distinction between like an alpha male and an asshole. Which, I mean, it's a different thing, it's not the same idea. Some people, I think, definitely do picture the alpha male as some big jacked guy who just goes around and just like tells everyone to fuck off, but that's not the definition that I think we're talking about now.
No, definitely not. Like you said, there's that. It's just a word that's been used to describe, 101 different things out there. So yeah, just for the record, guys, that's not what we're talking about here. I'm gonna place a link to David's The Book of Alpha in the description below, or we'll mention at the end, depending on where you're looking at this or listening to this. But if you give that a read, I think that'll definitely sort of clear up what, in my mind and David's mind as well, what the actual sort of definition of alpha is and the whole mindset and whatnot that goes along with that. So that's all
Right.
good. But yeah, so we'll move on from there, David. So I was having a look at your website, I think it was about a week ago or so, and just having a look at one of your latest posts, which is about meditation. That's something that I've looked into a number of times, and to be honest, I've probably tried to meditate maybe 2 or 3 times, but it's just something, I don't know if it's something hard for beginners to get into, or you just have to persevere with it, but it's something that, if I've looked at a lot of interviews with, successful people in the fitness industry, CEOs, business people as well. And one thing that all the sort of, high level achievers do is meditate, not for hours, but for, maybe a couple of times a day, just short periods. And so that's something you're doing now as well, is it?
It is. No, it's a habit that I've incorporated over time. Sometimes I've done it more religiously than other times, but lately I've been doing it daily for the last few months at least. And as you said, it is hard to get into, and I think that the reason it's hard to get into is that, for example, when somebody gets into lifting weights, they usually have a very clear motivation for why they're getting into it. I think it's often like they want to get laid, and they think if they have some muscles, they're going to get laid.
Yeah.
Or maybe they have an injury or something that they need to get over. But either way, it's like a very, very literal image in their mind. Like it's a very clear reason, a very clear motivation of what they're going to get, the benefit they're going to get if they lift weights. The same thing goes with a lot of other hobbies or habits that people get into. Guys who have very little success with women, they start looking at books on seduction and learning game or pickup artistry because, again, it's a very clear reason, it's a very clear benefit they're going to get from that. In this case, maybe sex or female companionship.
Yep.
But when you get to something like meditation, I think the people hear about it all the time from people who meditate. Like, oh yeah, it's like meditation's a great thing to do. It'll help you, have a clear mind. It'll keep you more grounded. And it's all these sort of like abstract things that are coming out of their mouth where it's like, well, like it's not like I'm going to be having sex tomorrow if I meditate, or it's not like my six pack's about to just like pop through my shirt because I'm meditating. And I think because of that, it's sort of something that you can just put off, even though, it requires like the most minimal time investment compared to all these other things.
Yeah, so I can see where you're coming from there as well. It does make sense. So since there's no sort of clear outcome, the motivation, they may be slightly motivated, but they're definitely not committed to doing 10 or 20 minutes of meditation a day just because there's no sort of, like instant gratification, or there's no skill that they can instantly take from that. So.
Right. And the funny thing is that once you push through like that initial, I guess, learning curve of meditation, I don't know if learning curve is the right term, but that there in fact like are a lot of instant gratification type things you get from it. For example, I'll meditate now in the morning, or if I wake up close to some time commitment I have and I don't have time, the most common time I'll meditate in the day will be when I start to get sort of flustered with my day. Maybe I'm on my computer doing like some programming or some database work for like 5 or 6 hours straight, and then I get like so up in my head because I'm literally just sitting behind a desk, clicking my mouse or typing.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm writing a book, whatever it might be. you just get so up in your head, and then like little small things that aren't even problems start to manifest themselves with problems in your head. Like maybe I have to train somebody later, and I haven't written the routine yet, and like the fact that even though it takes me 5 minutes, the fact that I haven't written it starts seeming like, like the biggest deal ever. Or there's some girl that I'm seeing who's not, who's trying to create a little drama or something, and even though it's not a big deal at the beginning of the day when I woke up, now that I'm sort of out of my mental zone, these small things have grown into like these like massive problems in my head where I'm sort of like on edge and a little anxious. And whenever I catch myself in a state like that, it's when I like to meditate. And as I said, if you're coming from a state like that and you meditate, you will realize like a lot of instant benefits. You'll come away feeling immediately mentally clear, emotionally calm, and you'll just feel like you're about to fucking crush whatever you got to do for the rest of the day.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's definitely something I'll give another try now that we've had a talk about it.
Yeah, and I'll add quickly that I think a lot of people also get caught up in like how to meditate, or I just want to offer, I guess, a quick basic way to meditate.
Yeah, go for it. Yep.
Just to put something actionable on, and at the end of all my ramblings, a lot of people, they think, oh, well, meditation is like turning off my brain and not thinking, and like I can't do that. Like if I sit down and close my eyes now, I start thinking even more and more, and like getting more like compulsive thoughts than I had before I was meditating. Like this seems backwards, and it's not, you really realize that like meditation is not that. It's more like striving to do that. It's really trying to turn your mind off, because you'll realize you can't really do it, at least until you've been meditating for years and years. I haven't been able to do it. I still see these benefits though. So what I like to do is just to lay on my back. A lot of people sit cross-legged or something like that, but for me it's more comfortable to lay on my back with my arms and hands to my side and just focus on my breathing. A deep inhale through my nose into my belly, and then a deep exhale outwards, again from the belly through the nose, and just thinking about that for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. And that's all I do. And there's certainly guided meditations on YouTube also that I use. That if you just search guided meditation on YouTube, there'll be like a 5-minute one, a 7-minute one, a 10-minute one. And if you click some of the ones with the most views, I think you'll find that if you want to try meditation, that might actually be the easiest way, because it's literally someone talking you through it the whole time.
Yeah, no, excellent. I mean, as I'm sure you know, there's hundreds of videos, books, guides, that type of thing on it. So I think people do, I wouldn't say blow it out to be more detailed or more complicated than it is, but I suppose there's just a number of ways to go about it. And something like you said, just 5 or 10 minutes, just focusing on breathing for beginners, I think that's something that just about everyone could, incorporate into their day, really.
Yeah, even if it's something that it's frustrating to do, and you're not seeing any benefit from, it's only 5 minutes, and at the very least, it's just making you practice a little bit of self-discipline,
Yeah, because people complain they don't have time for things, but I mean, when they look at, how much time they waste sitting in front of the TV or, browsing on YouTube, that type of thing, I think we can all find that bit of time just to give that a try and actually get some benefits from it.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it, and it's still something I struggle to do for all the reasons we just listed. It's just easy to be like, oh, I'd rather go like eat a taco or something than meditate right now.
Yeah, at the end of the day though, it all comes down to just persistence with it, and there's obviously going to be some days where it may not happen, or you may not be as enthusiastic as others, but I mean, I'm sure you've had that. We've both been training for a number of years now at the gym, and there's days where you don't feel like doing your workout or getting in all those meals, but it's just about consistency, and there's always going to be a couple of days you miss here and there, but for the most part, as long as you just commit to it and looking at it from sort of a longer time frame, those little details here and there aren't as important as staying consistent overall.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, with anything, as you said, whether it's weightlifting, meditation, or literally whatever habit or activity you're working with.
Thanks for listening to the Ignore Limits podcast. Be sure to visit the blog, www.ignorelimits.com, for more podcasts, videos, and articles to help you take your life to the next level.